Welcome back, everyday business leaders. I'm Melanie Ake, the host for your show today, coming to you from JP the Geek Studio right here in Greenwood, Indiana. We're thrilled to have you with us today. We're going to connect and celebrate a remarkable business leader from our own community. Shauna Snyder is joining us, and we're going to talk about all things real estate. Remember, subscribe to our channel and turn your notifications on so you never miss an episode. We're excited to share business innovation from an inspirational leader. Shauna Snyder, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. It's totally my pleasure to be here.
This is so awesome. We connected through the John Maxwell team, which is now Maxwell Leadership.
Right?
We have to get that right.
Yes.
There are a lot of things that we talk about when we think about business growth and personal growth. Mm-hmm. And you have had such an amazing journey. And I really want you to share your heart with what you're doing today, what's inspired you, and how people can be encouraged to grow in their own life.
Well, I'm totally grateful to have you in my life. And ironically, about a week before you reached out to me on Facebook, I had been in prayer and I'd been praying for wisdom and praying for God to put the right people in my life. And you and I were not connected on Facebook. We were in the Maxwell group together. But I clicked on my messages one morning and there was a message from you and you said, "Hey, I'm in Greenwood, Indiana. We're not far. Why have we not connected?" And that was everything. That meant the world to me. We had lunch and it's gone from there. I truly believe that you were part of God's plan when I asked for the right people in my life.
Oh, that's awesome. I believe the same from you. We have been able to really connect and share some experiences, which I think are just going to be part of the beginning of our journey together.
Yes, absolutely.
Talk about what you decided to do. What transformed in your life to help you realize that growth was a strategy that you needed to embrace?
Oh, wow. Well, I had been working for my brother's real estate company from San Francisco. I did that for 5 years. And I remember thinking, this is my forever job. You know, I was working with family. I got to travel to California all the time. I was working with some great agents. And I literally even prayed, God, let this be my final job, which is funny because that's not what his plan was. So on October 3rd of 2018, and I remember that because it was my birthday, my brother calls and in tears. He was going through some things in his life at the time and needed to downsize. And so effectively I lost my job, my dream job. And
on your birthday.
On my birthday. And, I know that was the hardest call he ever had to make. And we have an amazing relationship, so he knew, it didn't ruin my birthday. But I remember being so fearful and wondering, okay, now what? Because in that role, I was working from home and making the most I'd ever made at that time. But I was home by myself. Okay, I want you to remember that point. I was sitting home by myself every day, all day. So I keep going back to that. I wasn't meeting people, right? I now know the irony in that. So I remember I was coming home from the gym one day and I just said, Lord, I haven't had to fill out a resume for years. I don't have one. I don't want to interview. I don't want to do any of that. Just let somebody call me. And I am not kidding you, 20 minutes later, my phone rang. And it was a friend of mine from Bloomington who owned a property management company. And he said, "Hey, have you accepted another role?" And I said, "No." He said, "Let's meet for coffee in 20 minutes. Long story short, I walked out of there with the job. Just that fast. So I spent a year in property management, and then he transitioned me over to his real estate company. And that really was my first introduction to leadership because that company had a leadership conference out in New Jersey. So he sent me to that. And that was my first taste of leadership. Then, as we know it, COVID hit. COVID hit, and I lost my job. So 2 years, 2 jobs in 2 years. Mm-hmm. And I think that probably, I've had some issues with infertility and not being able to have a baby. That was a low period of my life. This was another low period of my life. So I'm questioning, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing? So I spent 6 months at home, and that's when I found John Maxwell. And he was during COVID, he was doing free webinars on Facebook, and I never missed one. I think they were on Mondays at 12 o'clock.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I remember my mom saying, "You've got to get out. You've got to do something." And I said, "No, it's Monday at noon. It was a date with myself that I didn't let slide. So ironically, I joined Maxwell leadership when I had no job.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I joined Maxwell, borrowed some money from my mom to pay the down payment.
Yeah.
Paid her back, joined Maxwell.
Yeah.
And poured into it.
Yeah. That's the thing, right?
Yeah, poured into it.
But right at a point where you in a transition to think, what am I going to do next?
Right.
And then being inspired by somebody to kind of show you the way, right? John always says leaders, they know the way, they go the way, they show the way. And
Right.
you have to like embrace that just kind of idea of like, if you're ready for that, it's, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And John did those.
Yes.
And he also lost his father
Yes.
during COVID. And so I understand exactly where your heart is when you say that touched your heart to be able to move and have that confidence, right? To know that that's the right decision.
Right. Well, I didn't even know what growth was. So my grandfather was a pastor. So that part of my history resonated because John Maxwell, if people don't know, he was a pastor first. So that part resonated with me. But growth, nobody had ever talked to me about growth. Nobody told me that I needed to grow, and nobody told me that I needed to work on my mindset. And I read Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck, and I realized I've lived my entire life with a scarcity mindset. And so many people do. I didn't know that I needed to get up every day and work on Shauna to grow. But I did that for 6 months. And then I received a phone call from Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, which is where I'm at now. And I remember coming up to Greenwood and sitting down with Craig West, who is the CEO, and having lunch. And I'm 6 months into my growth journey, right? So I think I'm pretty smart with this stuff. Yeah. And so we start having lunch, and he's growth minded. And so we're talking about growth and about mindset and the industry. And I'll never forget, he looked across the table and he said, I really like you. I think you're a great fit, but none of our offices have 2 managers. So I don't know where you fit at this point. What came out of my mouth to this day, I looked at him and I said, how about you give me a shot part-time? The second it came out of my mouth, I was like, what did you just say? I remember getting in my car thinking, I'm going to go home and tell my husband. Good news is I think I got a job. Bad news is it's part-time, and I asked for it.
But here's the thing. You had set yourself up for, I'm going to give myself an opportunity to do something completely different. Yeah. And so you put yourself in that environment, right?
Right.
And I think the confidence of being able to navigate that in a scary situation, like I need a job. However, let's figure this out, right? That's what leaders do. They can see before they really know what to expect. And then you have to pivot to know that there's going to be opportunities next because you created that clarity for yourself.
Yes.
So talk to us about the rest of the journey, because I think this has been pretty amazing for you.
Well, this is what I want somebody to hear today. I want you to hear this today. I thought that it was going to be the end of the world. We needed for me to have a full-time job. I thought. But I worked 1.5 years at a part-time job coaching, which for those of you who know about the Maxwell leadership, I'm now certified in coaching, speaking, and training. But I was coaching agents, real estate agents, but I was going home every afternoon and on Fridays growing myself and learning myself. So what that 1.5 years part-time job allowed me to do was grow Shauna. And it let me jump into my Maxwell leadership. It allowed me to jump into learning how to coach and to learn how to speak and to learn how to train, which was helping me in my part-time job. But amazing things were happening within me. Mm-hmm. And now when I look back and I think, every bill was paid. We never went hungry. And when I look back at that 1.5 years when I was working part-time, that was a God gift that I didn't even know I needed. And so I just want to tell somebody today, if you're in a situation and you think it's not looking the way it should be looking, if you're working on yourself and you're trusting the process and you're growing and you're trusting God, I promise you it's going to work out way better than you ever dreamed that it could.
We want to control everything, right? We always want to control everything. And the process of trade-offs, I think what John has helped me understand is sometimes those trade-offs, you have no idea what's happening. And you're like, but I'm giving up security for what?
Right.
And that's the thing that I hear from you and your story that I love so much is I just trusted the process. People talk about it all the time. Until you experience that kind of growth, you will never get out of that scarcity mindset.
No.
And so you see it all around you, and you say 20% of the population actually wants to grow. 2% of the population is actually leading the rest of the 98%. People that aren't reading books, or they're not investing in themselves, or they're not committed to building a community to help them be accountable. That's the thing that, really I would love for people to get from our time together, is that they can do it. They can start today.
Oh, absolutely they can. For me, what that growth looked like was a morning routine. I have a morning routine that I do 6 days out of the week, 100% of the time, 5 days. I don't always do it on the weekends. But I get up and I read a devotional, and then I read a scripture or a book in the Bible, and then I write out what I'm grateful for, because that's helped me focus on the great things that I do have in my life to be grateful for. And then I pray. And then I have an hour commute 3 days a week, and I listen to a podcast. So my morning routine is non-negotiable. And the days that I get up, which are not very often anymore at all, but the days that I get up and I'm rushed and I don't do my morning routine, my entire day is off, because I didn't spend that. And guys, it takes 15, 20 minutes. It's not a lot of time. But I take that time in the morning to work on me before I go try to serve the about approximately 40 agents that I serve every day. If I've not worked on myself and I've not served myself, I can't serve them. So that's part of my growth plan. The other thing is I kind of copied John Maxwell's. He set a goal of, 52 podcasts a year and 12 books. I'm at book 19 now.
Yay.
And I hit podcast 39 about June. The beautiful thing about the commute, and this just came to me, for those of you who have to commute and you complain and you hate it, you think it's awful, use it for growth. Use it for growth. It's my classroom.
Yeah.
So every morning I get at least one podcast, if not two in, and I just soak it up. Now going home, I can't do a podcast. I need to decompress. But your commute can be your classroom. If you look for ways to grow throughout your day, people say, I'm so busy, I don't have time. Yes, you do. You don't have time not to grow, because I'm going to be 50 next year. The world's not stopping. The world's not stopping.
The world's not stopping. And I love what you said. I want to go back to this daily 15 minutes, right? Because we've been doing this morning devotional. It'll be 1,500 days on November the 9th. And so we're like, how did that happen, right? But it started with one day. Mm-hmm. And then I started listening to people talk about this 1% principle, which is, it's 10%, right? So it's 1%, actually. It's 1% of your day. It's 14 minutes to invest in yourself every single day, over 365 days. You get a 3,700% return when it's compounded.
Wow.
For your growth.
Right.
That's crazy, right? And you think about, if you commit to yourself to doing it every day, that compounding just continues year after year after year. And so the sooner you can do it, the sooner, just like investing in financial money, right? If people are saying, well, gosh, I've got all this money in the bank and COVID really helped, we made $1 million. Think if you did that for yourself.
Right.
That's the power of personal growth and development. And you want everybody to have that. It's the abundance mindset. Once you start doing it, you're like, everybody can have this.
Yeah. And it's scary because people don't realize it. And growth is so thrown around. Coaching is so thrown around. But I want to live that testimony, because I've had powerful, positive change in my life. Crazy, powerful, positive change in my life. So I know it's possible. I try to practice what I preach. I don't preach to the agents what I don't practice. And in fact, one of my agents gave me a card yesterday and said that you do what you ask us to do, and you lead by example. And I don't want to preach something I'm not doing. I won't preach something I'm not doing. So if I say I'm doing it, I'm doing it. And what I'm trying to do now, what gets me out of bed, is these younger agents that I have in my care. I have a couple in their 20s, and I say, if I was only doing what I'm doing now at your age, that's what's exciting to me, is to be able to pour into other people what I've learned and how much greatness is within us. That's what gets me out of bed every day. I don't know what my future looks like, but I know my purpose on this earth. And what gets me out of bed every single day is knowing that somebody is better off because I'm in their life. And when I take my last breath, and I hope that's a long time because I'm not ready to go, but when I take my last breath and someone walks by my casket, if lots of people look at my family and say, because of her, I never gave up. And because of her, I changed. And I know amazing things were possible because we watched it in her life. Then I've lived it's been a life well lived. And that's what gets me out of bed every day. And right now, it's pouring into real estate agents. And that's my calling right now. And I love it. And I want more for them than I want for myself. I tell them I could make more money being an agent most likely. That's not what gets me out of bed. Mm-hmm. I want to make a positive change. I want to make an impact. And I strive every day to live a life of significance because that's the impact that I want to leave on this earth.
According to the American Lung Association, breathing problems are most common from indoor environments, including new or older structures. Who do you know experiencing migraines, sinusitis, asthma, allergies, COPD, pneumonia, bronchitis, fatigue, even snoring. Yes, snoring, or allergic to their pet's dander. Yes, breathing problems can be minimized very effectively and inexpensively. Call Mary O'Farrell, Mary's House of Healthy Living, 812-787-2071. Call right away to assess your indoor breathing environment. I love that you know exactly your role, right? You know what fills you up. You know how to be filled up so that you can live abundantly. The scarcity mindset would say, oh, I can just be an agent. Like that'll make me financially easier, faster, and then I can just influence the other agents. But you've chosen to kind of take this role as a full-time coach, a full-time mentor to these people that really need you. And the percentage of people that really take advantage of growth, it's that mindset of change, mm-hmm. right? When they embrace that. And so for people to have access to you, the things that you're learning, like your heart is overflowing. You can just feel it. And I'm so excited for the organization that you work with and all these other companies that say we need to have a full-time coach within our organization. Maybe other real estate agents mm-hmm. Can design something around what you guys have done so successfully. Because I think when it works and you find that strategy and that formula, it can really change communities.
Oh, absolutely, it can. Mm-hmm. Well, the blessing in it is that our two owners of Berkshire Hathaway, Indiana Realty, our two owners believe in growth, and they've given me this free reign. They've brought me in, and I teach the leadership team that I'm blessed to be a part of. I'm a disc consultant now, so they've had me come in and do disc, and I've done that to some of my agents. And they believe in me enough to know that I'm not going to do anything to harm this company or these agents. So they've kind of given me a blank canvas. And I think the key to that is the right person, because you and I have talked this week about ego, mm-hmm. and that's not going to serve anybody in whatever role you're in with your company. But if you have been placed in a position to shepherd and serve people, you better take it serious. Because you can mess it up really bad. And right now what I'm studying is leadership, because I'm in this leadership role with this company. But if the head of the company doesn't see the value in bringing in someone to coach and to train and speak, Berkshire Hathaway, Indiana does. Mm-hmm. I mean, our entire leadership is involved at not only the state level, local level, state level, but even at the national level, because we believe in giving back. Mm-hmm. And we know that we're better because of the people that we make better, that are, we want to leave people better than we found them, right? Yep. It's like them having a dream, and we help them fulfill that dream. Oh, my gosh. Well, things are changing, though, right? Past COVID, all the interest rates are gone crazy. Yes. And so how do you change that culture mindset to encourage people, like, stay with this, stay committed to the process of growth, because nothing's forever, right? Things are constantly changing, just like we are when we're growing. But with these, interest rates that have gone back and forth, how do you keep people focused on the future? Well, I got into real estate in 2007. And I don't know if you remember what happened from 2008 to 2010. Nobody warned me that was coming. But I didn't do it the right way back then, right? So now what I can teach these agents is, look, this is what I didn't do right, which kept me from a long career in the business as an agent. But if you just stay the course, it's all about relationships, right? So if you're looking at it from a transactional standpoint, I'm sorry, you're most likely, you might have a little bit of success. You're not going to have a long-term success. It's not transactional. People are buying the biggest investment of their life through us. We build dreams, right? We see people at some of the best times of their life and some of the worst times of their life. They come to us as the professional. So what I'm telling my agents right now is build those relationships, get your systems in order. I mean, if you're not organized and have your systems, all lined out, when it does turn, around and it gets crazy again, you're going to be stuck. Warren Buffett has a quote, you never know who's swimming naked till the tide goes out. Yeah. That's what's going to happen. I mean, if you're not building your systems and preparing for those fast, days that we do have, it can be a crazy market, then you're not going to make it. You're going to be running around like a chicken with its head cut off because you didn't prepare. So right now in this time, get your education, get your certifications, get your systems. Grow, go to seminars. I mean, there's so much that you can do in this downtime, and don't look at this stuff as a cost. It's an investment in you. Mm-hmm. So I tell people, you're the CEO of your company. If you hired people and they did what you're doing, would you keep them as an employee? Only they can answer that question, right?
I love it. Because, and John just had a mentoring call this last month, and he said, if I rode with you for a day, right? And so if you think about having your mentor ride with you for a day, what would they tell you to do differently to make the most investment of your time? And so if you can check yourself or even get somebody, right?
Oh, they need to get an accountability partner.
An accountability partner to say, I'm going to go with you for a day and just help you put those checks and balances in place. It's a great kind of challenge, if you will, for this time in their career. And I think every industry could do that. It's just with the real estate market, you hear everybody talk about, well, I used to be in real estate. I want to get into it. But Dave Ramsey says there's always a good time to buy a house, right?
Well, people have to have somewhere to live.
You have to have somewhere to live.
There's always marriage. There's always divorce, unfortunately. There's death. There's babies. There's now my kids are out of the house. I need to downsize. We all have to have somewhere to live, right? And again, it's that dream. If you look at it as though I get to serve. I hate the word I have to. And I've tried really, really hard to just completely remove that from my vocabulary. I don't have to do anything. I get to. So if you get up every day with that mindset, I get to work for myself today. I get to be an entrepreneur. I get to serve these people. Just think about how different your day is going to look if that's your mindset when you get out of bed. Not, I've got 12 showings today. Everything's got multiple offers. I know my buyers aren't going to win this one. The interest rates. I mean, you can be a negative Nelly all day long with everybody else. But what does that get you? You gain nothing.
Well, and I think the question for real estate agents, and I'd love for you to kind of talk into this a little bit, is, what are the things that if somebody is thinking about being in real estate right now, and they go from what can I do to how can I do that? How can they pivot? What are the kinds of internal relationships that they have to be thinking about to bond with in the industry so that they can be the best agent that they can be?
Well, I still think there's huge opportunity in real estate. There always will be. So there's so many positive. I heard a statistic, and I don't know if this is still what it is, but 67% of real estate agents love their job. That's pretty high, right? That's pretty high. You get to work for yourself. You get to serve people. So I think there's always opportunity. What you have to realize is you're not going to get a paycheck until you sell a house, right? So are you going to go into it and treat this as the same as you did a 9-to-5 job? Now, the beautiful thing is you have some flexibility when you're in real estate. But I remember when I first hired on in 2007, my broker saying to me, you've got to still look at this as a 9-to-5 job. Now, weekends, of course. But I remember I came from a law background. I was a paralegal for 12 years, but I still would get up every morning. I was in the office by 8, and I was there till 5. Now, I wasted a lot of time. I will tell you that. But I still showed up. I dressed for success. I never missed a meeting. So if people want to get in the business today, yes, do it, but have some savings because it could be a while before you have a paycheck. But whoever you decide to go with as far as a company, do they train? I mean, I think that's where we shine. I think we have some of the most amazing training and trainers in the industry. Do they train? Do they coach? What does that look like? Don't just say, oh, yeah, we do that. Okay, what does that look like? Ask the right questions, right? What's the culture? What does it feel like when I walk in the door? Does it feel like a family, or does it feel like we're all against each other and competing? You're all competing within your four walls, but it doesn't have to feel that way. Yeah. You can still feel like they have your back.
Well, collaborating, I think I hear a lot of people talk about, there's so many components when somebody says, I want to buy a house and you're brand new. And so they think about who are the people that I need to surround myself with in the industry as far as the mortgage lender and all the people that make it happen, right? The team that happens behind the real estate agent. Just because I say, Shauna, I want you to sell a house to me, there are many things behind the scene, if you've never done it, that have to go in sync. And so I think being a leader, finding that abundance mindset too, the right partners, right, to take care of your customers.
Right. Yeah, you have to, and that's huge. I mean, your lenders, like you mentioned, your inspectors, there's surveyors, there's insurance people, investment, people. There's so much that goes into it, and you've got to build those relationships. So you've got to take the time to have those coffees and have those lunches and build those relationships with those key people. And I've been preaching so much lately. Who's your five? They say, show me who your five is, and I'll show you where you're going. That is so true. and I've said this around the office. Are you hanging around the water cooler with negative Nancy, who's always mad at the broker and who's always mad at the company and they never do enough for her? Or are you over here watching these people that come in every day and they never miss a training and they never miss a sales meeting and they're pouring their whole self into this? And they're going out and building the relationships. Are you watching those people, or are you standing around talking to her?
Right.
Because that's where you're going to go.
Show me your actions and I'll know your beliefs, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's so true. I love having you here.
Oh, thank you.
What are the things that you want to pass on? We talk about significance all the time. The 15 Laws of Growth is my favorite book. It's changed my life.
Yes.
And I think going from intentionality to awareness to all those things in the middle, and you think about the trade-offs that we've made, and you and I have so many stories that are really parallel in this aha growth moment. When you think about the significance, right? So let's go to chapter 15, the law of contribution and significance. What do you think that looks like for you in the next 5 years?
The word that comes to mind for me with that would be impact. My word for this year was evolve. And I feel like I've had to evolve myself to then impact the lives that I want to impact. And I know in my heart that there are a lot of lives that I'm going to impact because I'm living it. And because I've experienced it, and because I'm preaching it, and I'm practicing what I'm preaching, and I'm leading the way. There are a lot of days I go home, and in my role, you don't just help them with real estate transactions, right? There are times they come in and shut the door, and they break down. Something's going on in their family, or financially they're struggling. They don't know where they're at. I take that on, and I go home with that. But that's because I care. And I know that that's how I'm going to make a real difference in the amount of lives that I know I'm going to make a difference in the next 5 years. I'm going to leave a legacy that goes way beyond my time here on earth. And that's what gets me out of bed, like I said, and that's why I get up every day.
I'm so glad that I know you.
Likewise.
You have just lifted my heart today, and I am excited to share just everything that you are about, that you are wanting to change the world. And that's really what Everyday Leaders platform started out as, is celebrating people like you with a heart that are changing our communities. It's impactful.
Thank you.
You are
Thank
making
you for
an
what
impact.
you're doing.
Let's do it together.
Yes, let's do it. I'm ready.
So if there was one challenge takeaway, I'm the why of challenge. So I always like to say, if you've listened to this and your heart has been moved and your spirit has been changed, to say, I think I want to grow. What can people do today? What would your advice be to say, what could that look like?
First of all, they need to go buy the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. That's
Yes.
my favorite. That's my John Maxwell Growth Bible, and the one I had him sign when I saw him last year. You've got to get intentional, number one, and consistency. You know, I tell the agents every day, your days are not going to be perfect. Your weeks are not going to be perfect. But if every day you're doing something to move the needle, and it's the same thing in growth. If I do something every single day, maybe you can't commit to a 15-minute, morning routine. Okay, can you commit to 5? Can you read a page of a book? Can you find a shorter podcast and listen to it every day? What can you do? So be realistic, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, my kids, I won't get into my whole fertility journey, but those who know me, I do have kids. God bless me with kids, and now I'm a GIGI. So my days are a little bit crazier now that I have Emmy every single day, but I make time for that. So get up earlier, stay up a little bit later. Mm. You've got to pour into yourself before you can pour into others, right? Mm. So it's simple. It's really, really simple. There's no one way. It looks different for everybody. But if you honestly, to your core, want growth, you're going to find a way.
Amen. You heard it here. Shauna, I want you to come back, be a friend of the show, because there are so many things that we're going to learn from you as the industry starts to change, as you evolve, things that you're doing in your life that I know we're really excited about to have you share with us. So will you please come back and be a friend of the show?
I would be my honor.
Yes,
awesome. I would love to.
Awesome. Thank you for spending time with us.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in to Everyday Business Leaders today. We hope you really enjoyed this segment as much as we did to help you think and grow differently about your business and about your life. Now you can get involved in the community in a different way. Remember, the journey of growth and innovation never ends, and it's our mission to keep bringing you the best insights from our local community. Stay tuned for more episodes filled with wisdom, innovation, and inspiration. This is Melanie Ake signing off from JP the Geek Studios, where better IT service is just a call away. They say own it, secure it, protect it. Until next time, don't forget to follow us, subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications so you never miss an episode. Everyday Leaders helps you to develop strategies to become a better leader in your life. Remember, it's not what you do in a day, it's what you do every day that makes the most impact.